Sir.
As you know, I represent the great people of the 3rd District of Tennessee, and in that district is a wonderful city, Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge sits in Anderson and Roane counties, and it's a very, very special place. A personal note of thanks to you, though, sir, before I start, for your personal attentiveness to Oak Ridge and all that we do there. And also, I want to thank you for the tremendous staff that you've put together at DOE. Your team is exemplary and a privilege and pleasure to work with, so I thank them as well. Mr. Secretary, at Oak Ridge, we had the Manhattan Project. I believe we won World War II there. We won the Cold War there. And we have done such a tremendous job, the men and women who have served us for decades there. It's a community that supports nuclear. We've got the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, which is truly an outstanding facility. We've got the Y-12 plant under NNSA, and we're building the uranium processing facility, and I want to commend you and your department. The contractor there is doing a tremendous, tremendous job. Every time we go there, it gets better and better, and as you may know, that had to be redesigned, and things are going so well to make sure that our nation's nuclear arsenal is strong for years to come. And I know the Pantex plant in Texas is doing an outstanding job as well. We also have a nuclear cleanup mission, and I appreciate your kind words and support of all that we do. This is something that Republicans and Democrats alike work so hard, not only in the House but in the Senate. Nuclear cleanup is so, so important. As you know, I'm the chairman of the Nuclear Cleanup Caucus, chairman of the National Labs Caucus, so it's just been a tremendous privilege to work with you, sir. One last accolade I want to talk to you about, and thank you for your STEM research support. At Oak Ridge, we have an organization called ORAU, the Oak Ridge Institute for Science and Education, managed by ORAU, is truly outstanding. We also have ORISE, which is a key entity in the department, providing all of our nation's laboratories more than 3,000 research participants per year. They also work for more than 20 other federal research agencies, providing research participants in key facilities. So again, thank you for the direction in which you're taking this critically important federal agency. I have some questions. The Department of Energy National Laboratories are a key element of our national research enterprise, but much of their physical plants are over 50 years old. At the 10 national laboratories stewarded by the Department's Office of Science, there's an estimated $2 billion backlog in infrastructure projects. All the national laboratories have urgent needs ranging from modernization, laboratory space, and utility upgrades to seismic refitting and demolition of excess facilities that are costly to maintain. At the same time, much of the lab's infrastructure is not directly funded, and if it is, the funding is inadequate. So the labs are left to cobble together funding to operate and maintain everything from nuclear hot cells and isotope production facilities to advanced manufacturing facilities and supercomputing centers, all of which are mission critical to the department. And as maintenance costs grow, laboratory overhead rates grow, making it more expensive for others to work with the labs. This creates constant drag on the system of labs to maintain state-of-the-art assets that attract the best and brightest scientists to do nationally important research in partnership with others. My question, sir, besides the need for additional funding, how do you propose to address infrastructure needs of the national laboratories, sir?
Mr. Fleischmann, you're absolutely correct in the sense of the facilities. When we went and toured Oak Ridge, and there's a building out there that we refer to as the Mouse House that is as old as I am. That's old in a building sense. So being able to D&D those, to decontaminate and just deconstruct them, there has to be, some additional funds. I hope that the committee would take a look at that from the standpoint of being able to remove Mr. Newhouse lives out with Hanford right around the corner, and that's a facility. I mean, we got cleanup in a lot of members' places, and so not only the cleanup side of this, but also old facilities. And the fact is, you know, these do need to be, in some cases, removed. They're contaminated. They're going to cost a lot of money. It's going to take substantial time to do that properly. But the other side of it is to build new facilities that are going to be attractive to the next wave of scientists that are going to be coming in, where they want to come and work in a place that's not 50 or 60 years old and falling down. So our commitment is to prioritize where we can with the resources that we have, but obviously having the resources available is going to be important.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Ms. Secretary, the United States and China are in a race for supercomputing supremacy, which is critical for advances in science and technology that will drive economic growth. According to Science magazine in February 9th of this year, after dominating the supercomputing rankings for decades, the United States is so far behind that the combined power of the top two machines in China easily outpaces that of all 21 supercomputers operated by the United States Department of Energy, the country's top supercomputer funder. However, that could change this summer when the Summit supercomputer at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory is commissioned. At approximately 200 petaflops, Summit will be the fastest in the world, with twice the power of the top Chinese supercomputer. Summit represents a critical next step on the U.S. path to developing an exascale system 1,000 times more powerful than today's supercomputing systems. The United States currently has a research and development plan to develop and deploy an exascale system by 2021, including a system at ORNL called Frontier, about the same time that China or Japan are expected to deploy their own exascale systems. Mr. Secretary, to beat, if not maintain, competitive relations with the Chinese and Japanese in the field of supercomputing, the United States needs to deploy its own exascale system in 2021. Your budget request makes a serious investment in achieving this goal. Can you talk a little bit more about the elements required for this success?
Yes, sir. The FY19 request includes $636 million, and 473 of that in the Office of Science and 163 million in the NNSA. June the 15th, I announced $258 million in funding over 3 years that are going to support 6 leading U.S. technology companies, because this is obviously not just a DOE / national lab enterprise here. This is working with our private sector partners as well. So not only have we, you all appropriated and we prioritized these dollars into the exascale at the DOE, we're also working with our national technology companies as part of a exascale computing project. It's called New Pathway Forward, and these awards will obviously accelerate and develop the critical hardware, and that's going to be necessary to put us back in our, what I consider to be rightful place, is having the fastest computing capability in the world. Right now, we don't have that. And the importance, from my perspective, is that getting us back to that position is tantamount to our national security. and you know, Oak Ridge, or excuse me, Argonne is going to have the first exascale computer, followed closely by your Oak Ridge lab. It's a different architecture, but you all, and this should put us back in either the first or second slot when those are done. And then obviously the transition on to quantum computing after that. And again, as this is one of those examples of as exascale comes into its maturity and we start shifting funds over to the quantum computing, and you know there'll be substantially less spent in exascale on the line item, and we'll start transitioning those dollars over to quantum computing at that particular point in time, in which your home lab will play a very important role.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.